Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk, straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Noodles? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know show. We are back, baby. We are back.
The season's starting today, or the offseason, and it's been exciting so far, Joe. We're excited to be back. It's our 5th year. We're starting here. It's going to be a blast. I lost the bet last year, so I'm ready to bounce back this week. And I think I'm still coming back from being hungover from that episode as well. I'm recovering, bro. I'm recovering. Absolutely. But it's been a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's a new year. We're excited. And to bring you guys in on this, on the speed, too, we have a longtime friend and follower of ours and know-it-all. It's our man, Mike Tackett. Mike Tackett, what's going on, buddy?
Glad to be a part, guys. How you doing?
Awesome, man. Awesome. Definitely. We thought it would be a great idea to have you on here with us and join ahead. And you're always part of our show too, as well. And it's always great. And not only the knowledge that you've put into, the comments and stuff like that, the questions that you ask us that really drive our show too, a lot of times too. And we really appreciate your input and everything, the support that you've given us throughout the years as well.
Hey, the pleasure's all mine. You guys put in a lot of hard work, and I'm just glad to be a part of it in any way I can.
Excellent. No
Appreciate
problem.
it.
Hey, man, let's talk about the big news that's going on, right?
There's a lot of news.
Hey, here we go. The big story.
Which one are we talking about?
Oh, the big story. It's got to be Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, right?
That's it. They got it nailed down. They got the trade, accomplished.
No, we're going to talk about your Green Bay Packers first here, and then Aaron Rodgers. How worried were you that he might even just walk away on this, or were you pretty confident that he was going to re-sign with you guys?
Listen, I was already expected Aaron to be done. I thought that this last year was his last ride, just like MJ had his in Chicago. I think the majority of us Packers fans packed it in and was ready for the Jordan Love era to start. And by God, I'm glad it didn't start. And I'll take Aaron for a few more years. And let's get a different quarterback in there, because I honestly don't think long-term wise Jordan Love is the solution.
Yeah, and that's obviously the Green Bay Packers thought that as well too, right? So they were trying so hard to make sure you locked it in for them. And wow, as far as the franchise tag here on Davante Adams, now he's saying he is absolutely not going to sign that thing. What do you think goes down with that?
Yeah, so Davante said that he won't play under the franchise tag, which it's interesting because with Aaron, the original report was Aaron was getting 4 years, $200 million. That's since been changed. And the way it actually works out, it's actually not a bad deal as far as Green Bay goes. I'm hopeful that with the money that they save, they can get Davante signed to a long-term deal. If not, then he's going to be great trade bait, especially right before the draft. Draft capital, we talk about all the time. Draft capital is so big, and with an all-pro like him, I would say you can get at least 2 first rounds.
All right, yeah, and they could use something like that right now. I mean, it's always great to have Davante Adams with you though, because you saw the chemistry that you had with Aaron Rodgers too, and Aaron Rodgers was always asking for more weapons too, besides Davante, what he had there. So he really had to go to him like a lot throughout this offense here. So I mean, what's your chances now? Do you think that you guys can really make a push now? Because now you got Aaron Rodgers here, and you locked him in to make that run for the Super Bowl. You've been close these past couple seasons here. Now, do you think you have what it takes here? What moves do you think they need to do? I know they had cut Zadarius Smith. Now he's with the Ravens, and they re-signed Preston Smith. Do you think something needs to be done more on defense now, or you want to help out the offense some more?
I think Cincinnati's a great example. You got to protect your quarterback. We just cut Billy Turner, so I think we definitely need to address the offensive line, which seems to be the same story every year. It seems like we need to address 1 or 2 key pieces on the offensive line. Odin Burks, he left. He's a linebacker. He went to San Francisco. Zadarius Smith went to Baltimore. Preston Smith got that nice extension. So they're they're filling in a few pieces throughout free agency, and I think they'll continue that through the draft. But I think to make a run, I think you got to protect 12. And that's really what it comes down to. I think the defense is going to be okay. We didn't seem to drop off in production last year. I think we did pretty good. I think as a team collectively, especially on special teams, having the worst special teams in the league, it seems like for the last 3 years, we have to be effective in all 3 phases of the game. Defensively, I think we did okay. Special teams was horrible. Offense obviously wasn't bad. We got hot at the wrong time of the year, I think. So I say fill in. The primary concern would be offensive line.
Mhm.
You got to protect 12, like I said. Run game's good. If we can get Devontae signed, him and Aaron are going to be scary again. So we'll see. We'll see what the Packers front office does long-term wise with Devontae, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, let's go back and talk about the Davante Adams situation too, is because Jim pointed out, like, they've had that marriage forever, Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, and they've been stellar with each other. And if in fact it was to happen, if in fact Davante Adams does move on, they end up trading him for the whole financial situation that he's looking at. Can you give us your own opinion on what you think the next tactic or strategy for the front office of Green Bay would be? Would it be just going into the draft and looking for a receiver right away, or would it be more of like, maybe let's see if we can play the best available game in free agency and maybe add a couple of pieces there? What would life after Adams look like?
Well, in a perfect scenario, Devontae comes back. If he doesn't come back and Jamison Williams is there, a lot of concerns about that knee.
Mm-hmm.
I say you got to pull the trigger on Jamison.
Yeah.
If Devontae doesn't come back again, I think we've got a lot of leverage and we can do, whether it be a trade for draft capital or maybe get an experienced receiver via trade. I'm not confident that MVS is the long-term solution. Randall Cobb's at the end of his career. So I think, we need to, if Devontae's not going to be there, we need to address it. I would say in the first round, if somebody falls in our hands like a Jamison Williams,
right.
And if not, we need to make a trade. We need to get somebody who's experienced. I don't know off the top of my head who the top free agent wide receivers are, but again, I'm not satisfied with who we currently have on the roster outside of Davante Adams. MVS is a good wide receiver too, and
Yep.
Randall Cobb's a good slot. Amari Rodgers, my concern with him is he's injury prone. He has trouble holding onto the football, it seems like. So, and given especially with Amari Rodgers, that full offseason, maybe he's gotten better. I'm not there in the camp, so I don't know. But there's a few different ways Green Bay could approach this. But if Jamison Williams is available that late in the first round, you got to pull the trigger.
I mean, don't you have to? Because let's be honest. If Jamison Williams was completely healthy right now, there would be no way you would see him. Like, he would be one of those top 10 picks gone as a wide receiver because he was that kind of a difference maker for Alabama. Now, we've seen injuries come and go. Like, everyone kind of overreacts a little bit. I feel I don't even know why this happens in the draft, but as soon as a guy gets injured like Jameis Williams, everyone's like, oh, well, he's going to drop. We can't touch this guy. There's no way. Don't touch him because he got an injury that he's going to come back from. He's going to successfully come back from, and then you'll have him for the future. So I think if Jamison Williams gets there for Green Bay, I think it's a slam dunk. I mean, even if Devontae stays with Green Bay, I feel like that would be something that Aaron Rodgers, would want. He's always wanted some extra help. And then on top of that, if you have Adams and then you go ahead and draft one of these stellar receivers like a Jameis Williams, that's dangerous right there. And especially if they pan out. You know what I mean? I mean, now you're looking, you can't just double cover Devontae. You got to worry about on the other side of the field too.
Yeah, and I just pulled up some information. Our second leading receiver is our running back, Aaron Jones. So, the way the Green Bay offense is, they like throwing the ball in the backfield. But to your point, if you can have another dangerous threat lining out wide, to me, that what I think of is, if you go back to Chris Carter and Randy Moss, you got somebody that can catch the deep ball, and there's a possession receiver. It does it gives a lot of headaches to the defense.
Absolutely. And that's what the NFL is now. You see all these offenses that are very, spectacular. They're hard to stop. Why? Because they don't have just one or two options. They got multiple options in the offense, whether it be a tight end, a couple receivers, the running back out of the backfield. So that's what NFL offenses are all gearing towards. That's what they all are hoping to acquire or to obtain through the draft and set on the football field. And all the really good offenses have that in place. You've already seen it. Like the Buffalo Bills, when they were utilizing the backfield, they're utilizing Stephon. They were utilizing everybody at their will. Even Dawson Knox, the tight end who everybody forgot about, me included. I didn't think the guy was going to amount to anything. And then, boom, he had a breakout year last year. So that's what a lot of these offenses are. And you even see, like, the Kansas City Chiefs right now in free agency, still looking for another wide receiver. Yeah, they might be losing, like, a guy like Byron Pringle maybe in free agency, but they're always it seems like all these teams are always looking to add more offensive firepower. And that's one of the things that Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers has been pounding the table for. He's like, get me more help. I love Adams. Don't get me wrong. I'll keep throwing to him all day long, but get me more help. Maybe this year is the year that Gutekunst helps him out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, all we can do is be hopeful, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Those Broncos fans, they were hopeful, and it seemed like it was going right down to the wire on that whole thing. And once Aaron Rodgers made his decision, you hear the news about the Russell Wilson trade. Now, what in your mind is your opinion on that whole trade? I know a lot of people on our end think that the Broncos just gave up way too much for this whole thing, for an aging Russell Wilson here, and then all the draft capital, but also Noah Fant and some other players. What's your opinion on that whole trade?
I think that Seattle's in full rebuild mode, first and foremost. And I think that once they get Pete Carroll out with a younger coach, I think it's going to be really interesting what happens in Seattle. On the other end of the spectrum with Denver, the first thing that came to mind was the Ricky Williams trade before New Orleans back in '99. So the only difference is Ricky was 21 years old. Russell's a lot older. And his best years, I think, are behind him. But the same could be said when Peyton Manning went to Denver after his neck fusion. So, it'll definitely be interesting to see how he's not a pocket passer by any means, nor is he as mobile as he used to be. So it'll be interesting to see how he fits that Denver system. So I'm excited. I was excited for Seattle. I think they won the deal, but
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Right. And that's the thing. And when you hear about these different trades too, and the analysts instantly jump on there too, they have to have that big question. Does this make the Broncos now an instant contender here and all this other junk and nonsense and crap? And you're kind of just like, well, I don't know. They still need more things, and plus everything they just gave up. So Russell Wilson, yes, he's better than Drew Lock and then Teddy Bridgewater that they had there, absolutely. But we saw a kind of him trending downwards too. He just is a bit older, and like you said, his best years I think are behind him, and I think just they need some more firepower here for them to really compete in this tough division too. We see with some of the moves the Raiders are making too, on top of everything in free agency. The Chiefs are still the Chiefs, but the Chargers too, they're right on the edge of breaking one too as well. So I mean, it's a tough division to play in right now.
I think that right now Denver is finishing third out of fourth in that division.
Mm-hmm. Who do you think slides there? Is it Joe's Raiders?
Joe,
Be careful.
Joe, I like you.
Be
I
careful.
like you.
Be careful.
I know, but hey, let's talk about the Raiders quick while we're on it too, man. You know, there you go. They trade Yannick Ngakoue over to the Colts here. They get Rock Ya-Sin in that trade. They cut Ryan Nassib, but they also make a signing today too.
They made a lot of cuts.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they definitely did too.
They're cleaning house.
But they're bringing some guys in. Joe, what do you think about the move so far with the Raiders and what you guys have been doing?
You know, and this is the other funny part, right? You know, as NFL fans, we want our team to like jump right in free agency day one and just start signing people. But you got to realize it's a business. There's a business side to this all, and they got to be able to afford the players. They got to be able to have the right, you know, they got to be able to fit your scheme, and everything's got to fall into place just right. So what's interesting is like the first day or two, Raider Nation was losing their minds. We're not doing it. What is Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler doing? We don't know. All I know is that we're not filling needs, and you could see this happen with every other fan base, right? So third day comes, and I hear the news after I get out of work, and it's like Chandler Jones signed to the Raiders. I'm like, whoa, hey now. I like that.
Yeah.
I like me some Chandler Jones. I like Chandler Jones who can actually take over games. And you pair him up with a Max Crosby who had like either he was number 1 or number 2 in total pressures for in the entire league. So that's going to be pretty dangerous. And then all of a sudden the news came, trade. Yannick Ngakoue traded to the Colts. And they just get Rock Ya-Sin. And I was like, wow, that's impressive. I mean, because if you think about it, Yannick Ngakoue is pretty much just a pass rusher. That's all he is. He's terrible against the run. And then they go and they've been looking for a corner. They've been talking, trying to sign people. And it seems like everybody's numbers are too high. So they pull off, they get a young Rock Ya-Sin, bring him over to the Raiders. Now he is only under contract for this season. So they're going to have to think of re-signing him. But I think I like the moves. So far I've liked the moves. Now, just like just like some other teams out there, like the Packers could maybe they'd be looking for another receiver as well as Adams to pair him up with. And the Raiders don't have receivers. Like they have one. Like they got Hunter Renfrow, right? But they don't have a number 1 caliber receiver, and that's something that's been escaping them for quite some time. So I'm hoping that maybe down the road or even in the draft, they go in and obtain one somehow. Because you look at guys like available right now, Allen Robinson. You know, he's one of the high caliber receivers still available. And OBJ, another guy. But OBJ is injured, so he's got to work through that process again to get healthy. And what team is going to take a chance on a guy of the what if right now? You know, so that looks like maybe that's going to happen maybe mid-season or something. So Allen Robinson's a hot commodity.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
who knows? I don't know what teams are still talking to him. I don't know if the Raiders are even in on him. But it's interesting to say the least. So I feel like there's a lot of teams that have done really well for themselves. You know, and the Broncos are one of them. But I'm not ready to say the Broncos are going to be the end-all, be-all and end up being second in the division.
Right.
Because let's here's something that people aren't thinking about. Yes, they have young weapons. They get Russell Wilson, but that offensive line isn't that great. So Russell Wilson still might be running for his life at times. And then on top of that, the defense. They're like, oh, it's a great defense. Their D coordinator is no longer there. Vic Fangio is gone. That defense might change so much that it might take a while for them to get back to where they once were. So, yeah, I like the moves so far. There's a lot of teams that have done well. Chargers are another team that have done very well for themselves. And I like it. I like where it's headed right now.
Joe,
Mike?
what do you think about the Max Crosby deal? Do you think that was a reach?
Reach? No. Because here's the thing is Max Crosby's deal, the way it's structured, is it's paying him like those top elite tight ends or DNs. However, it's because of the production that he's already put in place. Every single season since he's been a Raider, he's gotten better and better and better. He's had double-digit sack seasons like 2 or 3 years straight. And then the pressure he puts on offenses is so great that they better lock him up now, because what's going to happen when other top DNs start, the contracts start getting higher and higher and higher. And now all of a sudden you're like, well, we got to keep this guy. Well, we can't afford him. Guess what? It looks like another Khalil Mack situation where they might have had to trade Max Crosby, just like they did with Khalil Mack when they couldn't afford him. So they jump on it right now, get him locked in, and now they have him.
Do you think Carl Nassib is a casualty of that Max Crosby deal?
I think a lot of the cuts that the Raiders have made to save caps or to create more cap space is in light of the new regime coming in, a combination of the new regime coming in, trying to go after their own guys that they want. And yes, to answer your question, yes, I do believe that was part of it. But they are clearing a lot of cap room for a reason. And it doesn't, I don't think they're going to go splurge and just spend all their money in free agency. But what I'm saying is, if there's an opportunity, like we've already seen them trade Yannick Ngakoue away, that didn't cost any draft picks for either side, and it didn't cost money. But it seems like they're gearing up. So if an opportunity does arise, it looks like they might take it. You know what I mean? And whether that means we've heard rumors of Stephon Gilmore maybe going to Vegas, but that's been out there for a couple days. Nothing's happened yet, so maybe that might be a splash signing that they make besides Chandler Jones. So there's a lot of variables, but yeah, to answer your question, I do believe that a lot of these cuts and restructuring is due to the Max Crosby deal. And after June 1st is when I think they're going to extend Derek Carr. Mm-hmm. So I feel like they're moving a lot of money around right now and freeing up a lot of cap space in light of that.
Yeah, I know, and you see the moves. And once I saw that too, after right when the Ryan Nassib thing, they cut him and stuff. I'm like, okay, what they're going to be doing here, and then they go and bring in Chandler Jones too. I was like, oh, all right, I see what they're doing even too, trying to free up some stuff. Yep. Chandler Jones, I like the move as well. Like we've always been a fan of Chandler Jones. It seemed like he never got enough attention, I think, when he was over there in Arizona, and until after he was injured and then came back, and everybody's like, oh, he's not playing as well and whatever, then they want to dog him. But he was a sack leader for multiple years, and I think adding it to your defense along with Max Crosby, that'll help alleviate some of that pressure, because they're going to be double teaming Crosby here and there. So maybe Chandler Jones and that linebacker position can line up on the line too as well, and get some pressures too, and create a lot of problems here for those teams in the AFC West.
Yeah, and now that Patrick Graham is there as a D coordinator, you know him very well.
Absolutely.
He was with your Giants, and he did a phenomenal job with the Giants. Mm-hmm. So he's going to bring that multiple defense to that team, and that's where you might see Chandler Jones being moved around, Chandler Jones with his hand in the ground at times. So it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be interesting, I think, this season, too. You see so many teams switching jerseys now, too. They're going on so different, so many guys playing on different teams now. It's going to be crazy. Yeah. I mean, now, and we talked about maybe overpaying, big money, former Denver Bronco, now former Los Angeles Ram, now Von Miller goes to the Buffalo Bills. He was going to be ring chasing here and there. I wasn't so sure even after that Super Bowl, he's sitting there on the ground crying and really letting it soak in. Like, I thought he might walk away. And I know those guys had talked about Aaron Donald, hey, let's run it back, let's go again, and what decision he was going to make, but he goes to another contender. Look at Buffalo trying to get some more moves, make some more moves. They get tight end O.J. Howard now, who's been kind of quiet there with the Buccaneers, hasn't really panned out to be what they really expected him to be there for him. And but yeah, the max deal, a big deal here, $120 million for 6 years here for Von Miller for the Buffalo Bills. Wow, what a big price tag.
He made a correction on that. So Von Miller's 6-year deal with Bills includes $51.5 million guaranteed, including $45 million fully guaranteed at signing, per sources.
Okay.
And got paid.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Sign your name here.
Yeah,
Here's
exactly. Here you go.
45
Just like that.
Did anybody tell them how much snow they get?
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, I know.
It's going to be very different from L.A.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. And then, being there in Denver, I think so. I mean, they get snow on occasion here, but it's not open like it is over there for Buffalo, man. They get hammered over there.
Yeah.
So, but I tell you what,
It's a little different, Orchard Park.
yeah. Yep, but you know what? He's going to have another great quarterback over there too on that offensive side. I mean, he was able to win a ring with Peyton Manning there for the Denver Broncos, but then also now go and get Matthew Stafford to get his back too and bring him another championship. Josh Allen still in his prime early on in his career, making it happen, and Stephon Diggs still there, and they got some great weapons. They're going to be missing Brian Daboll and stuff, like I said, but they still have the weapons there. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Buffalo now. Those couple guys and Joe Shane have left that team.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
real quick. So sources have said that the Vikings are trying to trade defensive end Daniel Hunter right now. So who knows who's going to end up with him. Other than that, there's a couple of signings that happened while we've been talking. Seahawks actually have released Benson Mayowa, DN/pass rusher. Jets have signed tight end Tyler Conklin. Finally, so it looks like they might be getting an actual tight end to use, maybe, possibly. And then the Raiders have signed yet
they have a few now.
Yeah, and the Raiders have signed yet another corner in Anthony Everett from the Ravens, who started last year. They signed him to a 4-year deal. So the Raiders stocking up on corners because they know they're going to need them.
Yeah, absolutely. So Buffalo making moves, like I said there. They got O.J. Howard there, too, on the offensive side. They re-signed Jay Kumaro, too. Isaiah McKenzie there as well. So let's see what happens with the AFC East situation. Meanwhile, the other big news that's going on is from down in Florida. Tom Brady comes out of retirement. Mike Tackett. What do you think about Tom Brady now after a few months out? Be like, hey, I'm back now.
Don't forget, guys, Father Time is still undefeated.
Yeah,
it's going to catch up sooner or later.
Yes, sir.
I think honestly, though, Tom he's 44, but he's still at an elite level, and he's buying time for Tampa Bay's front office. I don't know if Kyle Trask is going to be the successor for Tom. The benefit that Tampa Bay has with Tom is he's not salary cap heavy.
Right.
So they were able to get their center an extension, but in the process, in lieu of that, they also lost both of their starting guards. I think one retired and the other went to, I think, Cincinnati. So again, they've got some work to do to fill in some holes, but anytime Tom Brady's playing, it's exciting. You gotta enjoy it while you can. So I'm sure he'll be in the thick of the playoffs come January, and we'll see what happens.
Speaking of quarterbacks, there's another one that is rumored to be traded. In fact, it might happen tonight. It could happen early tomorrow morning. But Deshaun Watson is contemplating now. Apparently, per Pro Football, not Focus, but Pro Football Talk, they said, per source, Deshaun Watson is incredibly torn. He was impressed by the presentations from all 4 teams. They have made it very difficult for him to make a choice. There's no specific timetable for his decision, but we're waiting. So he's met with 4 teams: Atlanta, the Browns. Who was the other? The other 2 was
Atlanta, the Browns, and the
Saints and the Panthers.
Saints and the Panthers, yeah.
So he's met with all 4 of them. He's got all the information. He was impressed with all 4. He's leaning. I feel like he would be leaning towards the Saints. However, I know that the Browns have pushed all their chips to the center of the table after basically saying that Baker Mayfield, they are moving on from him regardless if they are to obtain Watson or not. So Baker's he's done his little sappy story and tweeted out, and farewell, Cleveland. I love you all. Thank you so much for having me. But
That's the LeBron effect.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but where do you think Deshaun Watson might end up?
Whoever's paying the most money.
Yeah.
Well, he's still under contract for 3 more years.
Who's probably the best contender out of those teams, you think?
To be honest,
I think that wherever he goes, he's going to want a new deal.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. As far as, who he would go to, I think you just look at the supporting cast. Cleveland, they got rid of Landry, but they have Amari Cooper. And then they have the duo of Chubb and Hunt in the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
They have a great tight end. So Cleveland, that offense sounds nice. Atlanta, that's a little shaky.
That's a rebuild.
Yep. In New Orleans, you have whatever Mike Thomas is doing. Are you getting the productive Mike Thomas, or are you getting the Mike Thomas that fell apart last year?
Right.
And then again, I think Carolina, outside of CMAC, I don't know what type of offense Carolina is.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it makes sense. If Cleveland has the cap space, he's going to go to the Browns, and then he's going to want to restructure for a new contract.
Yeah, and I'm kind of right there with you. I feel like the Browns have a really good shot of getting him. Mm-hmm. I think they've sold him enough to where. And here's the thing: my own opinion is I think no matter where Watson goes, except for Atlanta, because I think they just need a lot more pieces. Even though that's home to him, that's hometown. So that's why he entertained that whole visit and everything. So that's going to be interesting that the Falcons came in kind of late, being interested in him. But other than that, I think if he goes to the Browns or the Saints or the Panthers, I think he can win with any one of those teams right now, because I believe in Deshaun Watson as a quarterback. And when you have a really good quarterback that's already proven, he can take your team to a new height. And I feel like they have enough pieces where he can, utilize that offense, whatever offense that he's going to go into. And I feel like he's going to make them better, much better than what they would have been before. So I think he can win with all 3 of those teams. My biggest thing for him is please make sure that you really think about it before you just jump. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do think he's going to get a new contract. However, because of the court, because of just getting out of court, because of he might have to go with the NFL might come down on like a small suspension of some sort, like 2 or 4 games or something like that, because he's still got to go through civil court.
Yeah.
Depending on how that unwinds, but no matter what team gets him, I feel like they can win with him. So I think it's going to be like he's going to play a year under his current contract, and then he's going to want to renegotiate and get an extension after that. So
let me throw a wild card team at you guys. Seattle. Yeah. So they've got the draft capital.
They have the capital.
And then, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, he could throw to.
Yeah. The only problem with that is that from what I've heard he just basically shunned Seattle. He does not want to go to Seattle. And yes, they have a ton of capital. Mm-hmm. They could easily, right? They could easily get a deal done in place for Deshaun Watson. Mm-hmm. However, I feel like Watson has looked at Seattle and said, you know what? That offensive line sucks. Mm-hmm. The defense is terrible.
Yeah. Yep.
That's just like going to Atlanta, basically.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Atlanta, I feel, has a little bit better of an offensive line, but they're another team that's rebuilding.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would think it would easily have to be Browns, Saints, Panthers. I mean, that to me, but we'll see. Deshaun's going to make his decision, and we might be floored by it, or we'll be like, that was a good one.
Yeah, we'll get the whole what? Like what? What did we see there? I mean,
April Fools came early.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
It's like, yeah, absolutely. Zach Walker's announced with us tonight. He says he thinks he goes to the Falcons. But it could be
Zach,
just
way
a
to
hope
go
and
out
a
on a
dream.
limb,
Yeah,
buddy.
yeah.
Way
All
to
right,
go
put
out
the
on a
weed
limb.
down. All right, and then we got Jeffrey Smith in the house with us tonight too.
Whoa!
Yeah, I think he's just laughing
up,
at
Jeff?
Zach's comment right there. So I guess that makes sense here. All right.
What's up, Jeff?
Yeah, so, this whole thing, again, I think Cleveland, again, is the better option right now, especially what they've even been doing in free agency, too. I mean, you think you got rid of Jarvis Landry, but you do have Amari Cooper there still. You have Austin Hooper as a weapon, too, as well. Donovan Peoples-Jones, who looked really nice at times last year. And,
Right.
again, that running game, solid running game of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Those guys were balling out all year, and their defense was playing well, too. So, I mean, altogether, it's a nice team.
Yep.
They didn't lose a whole lot of things for them, and they could have had some more wins. They only ended up being 8-9 last year with Baker having his woes and struggles. But he can be that guy that brings them up to that next echelon.
So here's what I'm looking at right now. The Cleveland Browns, per overthecap.com, have $16 million under the cap.
Mm-hmm.
They would have to do some homework.
Yeah.
They would have to do some homework to get that contract to fit.
Right.
Probably maybe restructuring the newly acquired Amari Cooper.
Yeah, who knows, something.
Let's
Again,
face it. I don't know about you, Tackett, but you think Amari Cooper's worth $20 million?
Listen, they gave Hooper $23 million over 2 years, and he just got cut today. So
Right.
he had 2 years left on his deal. So
Mhm.
maybe Cleveland's trying to make
Make some
some moves to pay Amari that.
Mhm.
But it's an inflated market. Today's game, it's a passer league.
Yeah.
That's why I think Dan Marino made the comment that he can still play in this league.
Yeah, right.
Especially going 17 games. It's stat padded. Which good for these players to get paid. Quarterbacks and receivers are going to get paid more than they're worth, and I think that's what's going to happen in Cleveland. Otherwise, I think Amari is going to hold out.
Yeah. I mean, and plus, if you look at that division, though, too, you've got Pittsburgh, who now Mitch Trubisky is going to be their savior, maybe,
Well,
for
they're
them.
all
We'll
gonna
see
compete.
what happens with them. But
all
I mean,
gonna
they're
compete.
on the downhill turn, and so I think Cleveland, again, they're at a great moment. I think that they can make a run for this division. Just see what happens with Baltimore, because they're always looming right there too, and in the thick of things. But I think it's a good time for Cleveland to step up and make this move and really make the push for this division.
Yeah, I think so. You know what, too? You bring up Baltimore.
Yeah.
Look at what Baltimore's done, though. They haven't made a ton of moves, right?
Uh-huh.
But they've made very precise moves. They end up signing all-pro safety Marcus Williams from the Saints, bringing him to the Ravens to lock him in there, and then also a familiar in Zadarius Smith ends up getting comes back and signs with them. So what I think they were missing last year defensively is they were banged up a little bit. Some of their linebackers missed a lot of games and everything, but I think they were missing that veteran presence. You know what I mean? That they once had, where they could bring in this youth, and then they would kind of teach them and help mold them into a dominating defense, and then it would just carry on. And now that they bring back Zadarius Smith, they bring in veteran Marcus Williams on the back end. I feel like this is going to be a big uplift for them, defensively. And then then you look at the offensive side, and they're like, okay, well, what kind of Lamar Jackson are we going to get for this upcoming season? We got weapons now. We've drafted a couple of receivers. We added a receiver. Our offensive line is solid. What are we going to get out of Lamar Jackson going forward? I hope that they go back to, and Lamar Jackson has to go back to it, is being that threat with his legs to create the space and the open windows to the receivers to throw the ball. Because we saw last season that it almost looked like he was trying to throw the ball way more often, and it just didn't work out. I mean, the windows were a lot tighter. He just couldn't seem to find the right guy open, and then when he tried to force the ball, it would get picked off. And we saw at one point, or even a couple times, he threw like multiple picks in one game, and cost him those games. So hopefully he kind of winds it back a little bit this offseason, hops back up on the saddle, and then straight ahead. Go
Yeah,
for it.
and that team, they've been like that up and down team last year. It was very strange because, again, they would lose to a team like Miami, but then beat another decent team that was playoff bound. But again, another mediocre team would come around, and it seemed like they were really letting it slip and just could barely put anything together. Who knows what the defense will do because they lose Wink Martindale there too on the defensive part too. So how is that defense going to look for them? Will they suffer on that end? So I mean, they could look a little different this year, but like you said, it all depends on the play of Lamar Jackson. And yes, I think he is when he uses his legs more often, it just opens that game up completely. And he did seem like last year he tried to really pull up and throw a little more times to where his old self probably would have took off and ran. Zach Walker's in the house. He says about his comment about Deshaun Watson. He says he's young. Maybe he wants to start fresh. And like Joe said, it's his hometown. I don't know. My gut says Falcons, but who knows? He could go anywhere. Who knows? We've seen a lot of guys surprise us.
All I know is
whatever you hear, a lot of times, is it the real truth? And then all of a sudden, the real place lands. So.
All I know is that no matter where he goes, it's a fresh start.
Yeah.
So, I just think
then you've got, what the thing is too, is if he goes to Atlanta, then you know that Matt Ryan's probably in that trade, so he's going to go to the Texans.
You would think he would have to be.
It would have to be.
But here's the thing:
for the Texans to even get something out of that.
The way Matt Ryan's contract is, they are going to suffer. I mean, the amount of dead money that is going to be carried over off of that contract is going to be incredible. So they already know that. And it looks like if they can get a Deshaun Watson to help build this franchise up once again, then it seems like they have the plan in place. They have, everybody has a plan, right?
Yeah.
But does it fit under Deshaun Watson's liking? That's the big thing.
Yeah, definitely. So, a couple of things happened this free agency here too that I've noticed. A couple of guys now in this league have seemed like they committed to their team to coming back, and then the last minute there's a change. We saw this with now Randy Gregory with the Cowboys. Again, it looked like he was going to come back to the Cowboys on a deal. And there's the verbiage he didn't like about now I'm going to get penalized or in trouble if I do something wrong. Man, you're going to do that to me?
No, they could either penalize and they could even cut him.
Cut him, yeah. And he's like, whoa, that's too much. I can't sign this. No. And Broncos are like, we won't do that. Here, come on, here's the pen. Come on. So then he turns tail and just does that. Yeah. And we saw that also with J.D. McKissick. He did the same type of deal, too, as well. Mike Tackett, what do you think about the Cowboys and what they've been doing here?
Well, I had just seen that they restructured DeMarcus Lawrence. So defensively, it looks like, gosh, guys, I don't know. Listen. What can I say? They got rid of Amari Cooper so they could pay Zeke.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
I know.
You're in a good room here. None of us are here.
They did, and this is the decision that they made. Is they decided to move on from Cooper and his contract, and they extended and gave a contract to Michael Gallup. A much younger receiver, a guy that I feel it can be a really good receiver for them. Had he been healthy last season, he could have really proved himself. So they seem to agree. They decided to move on from Cooper, retain Michael Gallup, and with him and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, that's a good force. And then the big thing, too, is not a lot of people are talking about it, but Cowboys lost Cedric Wilson to the Dolphins. Cedric Wilson kind of started to make a name for himself throughout the season and was starting to carve out a niche for himself in that offense. And then now he goes to the Dolphins. That is a very underrated signing that the Dolphins just made, and I think you're going to see him blow up this year in Miami. So, I mean, there's a lot of those kind of intricate signings where they might not be big names, but they play big. So, also want to talk about
speaking of Dolphins.
Yeah, go. What do you got?
Adam Schefter. Dolphins are giving former running back Raheem Mostert a 1-year, $3.125 million deal.
Yes, sir. That just
Mostert,
in, everybody. Know-it-alls.
That just did. There you go.
Tackett with the Tackett ticker.
Yeah, that's right. There,
Yeah, I
boom.
mean,
That's
so-
it. That's what we gotta call it. There you go. It's
Tackett
30 years,
ticker.
so that's it.
We're
We
going to
got
bring
the
you on
Tackett
every
ticker.
show now. Tackett
Boom,
ticker, what do you
Tackett
got?
ticker. He's got a "You're our Adam Schefter." There you go. Boom. It's coming in hot. Bang. There it is. Breaking news. Always Mike Tackett up to date with that stuff.
Yeah, excellent. Speaking about big news is so Julio Jones ends up getting released by the
that's
Titans.
right. Yeah.
Tackett, what do you think about Julio? Do you think he's past his prime? You think he's past and he's done? He's washed up? Do you think teams need to kind of just let him retire, or do you think he still has something a little left in the gas tank and he's going to end up somewhere?
Hey, maybe he'll end up back in Atlanta.
Right.
Maybe back in the
No, I think his best years are behind him.
Yeah.
You know, it's what have you done for me lately? And you know, Atlanta got rid of him because the production wasn't there. I don't think in the last season and a half.
Mhm.
And then I don't understand the Tennessee dropping him already, but I thought they would have given him a little bit more time. But
Okay.
as such is the way of life in the league.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So
Yeah.
okay, just to piggyback off of that, do you think it was not as much of production, but more maybe of injuries?
Oh, injuries for sure, but I think they also go hand in hand with each other. You know,
Yeah.
if you're hurt all the time, you can't perform to the expectations. So, and that's not an excuse because every team in the league, has key injuries.
Yes.
Then that's when death comes into play and that sort of thing. But
Right.
I mean, Julio, he was productive for so long, and he had Matt Ryan throwing the ball for the longest time, but I don't know. It just seemed like they couldn't get to the next step. Kind of like with Dallas, and their quarterback situation. I don't think Dak is the guy that's going to get them to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we always thought about it. Whenever we had those talks all the time, it seemed like forever we were having episodes about Dak Prescott's stupid
Dakota
contract
Rain
and everything. And we're just kind of like, and again, I hate the Cowboys and stuff, but I can talk freely about them and give them an honest opinion about things and not bash them
Right.
and things like that. And,
well, once in a while.
But yeah, once in a while. But I'm just trying to be honest with him, like the way I would be about my team. I'm like, listen, dude. I'm like, he wanted to go for this max money and do this whole deal. I'm like, if they're smart, just work it out, or then you can't. Like, see you later. You don't want to go all in and do what some of these other teams do. And this guy makes the most here. Well, I want to be the next highest now. Now I want to be the next highest. That's the one thing, the factor about Tom Brady that led to his greatness. He never took that max deal ever. Was able to negotiate along with the Patriots and get weapons around him, even underdogs that a lot of people didn't even want to give a chance on. I mean, look where Wes Welker came from. He was from the Miami Dolphins to where they didn't need him, and he turned into a superstar in New England. But Tom Brady taking, nice, easy deals, and has been doing that his whole career when he's been labeled as the greatest of all time. I mean, and if the greatest of all time isn't making the highest paid guy in the NFL, then that should tell you even other things that he's been doing for you guys that is great about making it easy for it to be a full team sport to win together, not all about me. That's the one positive about Tom Brady. And where the Dak Prescott, that's where the Cowboys kind of needed to trend on. And they were trying, but there wasn't any give, I think, on either side. So they eventually just had to bail in and say, well, that's it. Yeah. We got to get it. We just got to lock them in. And that's where they're kind of stuck. But before that, they decided it was a great idea where they made a mistake, like Mike Tackett brought up right here. They went and signed Zeke. And that's the thing. And they gave their money to other people, too. So I think Jalen Smith got a deal, too. Jalen Smith got a deal before that, I think, too, and locked him in for a little bit. And that's where it started. And then you got issues ever since that.
Tackett, let me get you. I need to get your opinion on something here. Let's squash this once and for all. Zeke
here we go.
or Tony Pollard? Who's the better
Tony
back?
Pollard.
That's my guy.
Yeah.
See? That's my guy.
Well, you look at value too, right, Mike? Is that what you got to look at probably as well? You
Absolutely.
look production as far as value, or
there's nothing that Tony Pollard can't do that Zeke does. The only difference is Tony does it a lot cheaper.
Yeah, and that's what you
Very
ultimately true. You kind of want to do, right? And that's where, like I said, again, the Patriots have done really well at something like that. I mean, they've made some some moves and things out of like Rex Burkhead. When we saw Rex Burkhead in the backfield for them, we're like, holy jeez, what the hell are they doing here? But they were able to get it going with him, but then they give it to James White still, and then make a bit of a running game if they had to, and still just get another veteran to join on with their squad just to help out a little bit. They've seen when we're going to have Amon Green on, we were going to ask him even about the value of running backs. And we've seen this, how they've trended lower than they were previous years. They get worn out after, I think the average length of their career is like 3 years. And for you to shell out money to a running back like that, even though he did produce for you early on, it shows now the longevity. It doesn't really pay out for you, and you can grab another guy like a Tony Pollard and some other guys to split backs. I mean, you have that tailback, but then you also have that full halfback for you to where you can get him involved in the passing game. You can run some guy on the outsides. You can run a guy through up the numbers, and a lot of teams are really moving towards that type of situation in that offense to where you don't really need to give that deal to that solid running back. And now the Giants are in that situation here with Saquon Barkley. What do you think about that so far with Mike Tackett with the Saquon Barkley thing?
To piggyback on what you're saying, I think that most running backs now are plug and play.
Mm-hmm.
And Saquon, he's going to be wanting a lot of money soon. And I think you've seen that with Zeke's first big extension. When these guys get paid, the production drops off. They get hurt. It's just not the same. So for me, because of the running back position is so plug and play, I'd go with the younger guy, get almost the same production. Saquon, I don't follow the Giants much, but I think he was hurt a lot last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's one of those injuries too that like he didn't really get hit hard. That injury where it came across the middle, I think it was against the Cowboys, so it probably was a dirty move, but it could have been avoided. But again, just it seems like he gets tapped a bit in the ankle, and then now it's like a tear again, and he's out. And a guy known for his quads and his athletic ability and everything and stuff like that. And when he was healthy, those first 2 seasons, he was dominating. I mean, it was amazing to watch what he could do. But since then, that has been a problem. Staying healthy. So then it kind of, people look down upon him like, oh, what has he really done? And like you said before, like with your Julio Jones, things like that, injuries come into play to where there is no production because, dude, you're not on the field. And if we're trying to pay you and you want this big money, but you're not on the field, how does that help us? You know what I mean? Especially if we're paying you still, and we got this other guy that could fill in and still make some moves. The fact that they cut the Devontae Booker, I thought was head scratching. I thought he would have done well still in this offense, for them, because when he was playing, like we saw in that Raider game when we went to that Raider game, Joe, he was their main tailback there, and he did well. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what I mean. They didn't pay him a whole lot, but you got Saquon there, and if he does well this season, I really don't agree with them giving him like a bigger deal still. I still say throw a prove-it deal on him.
Statistically, Booker had a better season than Barkley. Also fun to note, Daniel Jones had as many rushing touchdowns as both of those guys mentioned.
There you go. Boom. Fact
so
of
that's
the day.
It. It's going to be a position change. Daniel Jones to running back.
Daniel Jones is the new running back.
There you go.
Tyrod Taylor's going to be slinging the rock.
Yep, Tyrod
Right?
Taylor quarterback. There
Boom.
we go. Let's make it happen.
I tell you what, I was happy when I heard Tyrod Taylor right there. You want to talk about you don't follow the Giants that much. There's really not a lot of happy news to follow and pay attention to. So when we hear Tyrod Taylor, we're jumping out of our seats and we're like, yes. It's like, oh, man. But like some people still didn't like the move. There's other Giants fans that were out there that I was talking to that don't like it.
They need to
But come on, man. Tyrod Taylor, he's great stopgap in case there's an issue with Daniel Jones. If he does get injured
Injuries,
again, he can still run too as well and throw the ball. And he has shown some productive years yet. I know a lot of people start trying to hope that he can get back to what he was playing when he was a Buffalo Bill last time.
Right.
But basically before he had that rib injury with the Chargers, he was doing well.
He was also doing well in Houston before he got injured and basically
How's
lost
the
his
medical
job.
team with the Giants?
Obviously not very good because they're always injured. You know what I'm saying?
Your lungs, right?
Yeah, I know.